Tyler from Aspire Sports. I'm going to be giving you my weekly buy and sell players here. I know that the trade deadline probably passed for some of the leagues out there, but for others, it continues on. So if you need some players who to target with good playoff schedules, some to sell that have rough playoff schedules, here's the place. Also, I want to say this. You need to win now. If you're on the outside looking in, you need to win now. So that means that if you're holding on to guys like Christian McCaffrey, Austin Ekeler, hoping that they come back, you have a guy in your bench that you're hoping produces, but need like a Kalen Balaj to win this week, you need to make the moves to win now. That means making some tough decisions here, trading some players for pieces that are going to help you win right now rather than later because you might not make the playoffs. So everything that you can do to help you win this week, next week, it's not a season-long league anymore. It's a week-by-week league now. If you're on the outside looking in or really in the midst of things in the middle of the pack looking to try to hopefully get in the playoffs, you got to treat it as a week-to-week game right now instead of season-long. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. The first one here is going to be Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar, I've been saying this for a couple weeks now, is the prime example of a buy low candidate. Yes, it hasn't been that great. And some of the managers out there probably have better options at the moment. I've seen a lot of people say, who to start? Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, so many questions like that. So see who the Lamar Jackson owner has. They possibly have a better option right now. Go out and try to get him. Now, chances are they're probably not going to want to give him up because they drafted him high. But in the case that they do, he has a beautiful schedule going forward. Just look at the schedule. Yes, they have Pittsburgh, but that's the only game. They've had a rough patch of defenses here that are very tough against quarterback, also very tough against tight end. His best option right now, Mark Andrews, and also Hollywood Brown, I think is going to be better going forward as well. But right now, Lamar Jackson fits the bill, has very good matchups coming up, and even these tough matchups, it wasn't terrible. At least it's not Nick Foles, right? Terrible. Anyways, going forward, I think he's a solid buy. Let's go into the next one, Chubb. This is Chubb slash Hunt. It's going to be very hard to get these guys, but if you have, say, Dalvin Cook, who we saw didn't have that great of a game, this is somebody who I would try to go out and target if you're a Dalvin Cook owner because Dalvin Cook has a brutal playoff schedule. If you look at Chubb's, look at who he has, right? Philadelphia, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Baltimore, New York Giants, New York Jets. It's money. So if I was somebody who had some options, like a Dalvin Cook, maybe a Derrick Henry, I would try really hard to go out and get Chubb because I think Chubb has a beautiful playoff schedule on a team that wants to run first, and even Hunt. If you're able to get Hunt, he's probably the cheaper of the two. You could probably throw him in the mix, say with Dalvin Cook, and probably even get somebody else for Kareem Hunt and somebody else. So I would try to go out, get both of these players while you can. Let's go to the next one, and that's going to be James Conner. I know it's been brutal these past 2 weeks. I've seen people saying they're not playing him anymore, which I understand. But at the same time, this past game against Cincinnati, it looked like they just wanted to get the deep ball going. They knew that they were going to win this game. As a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I knew that they're going to destroy Cincinnati. Cincinnati, unfortunately, didn't have a chance in this game. Pittsburgh were going to get to Joey Burrow no matter what. And it looked like, honestly, the Steelers were playing around with them in the passing game just by having Ben throw some deep balls and trying to get that thing going because it hasn't been all season. So I think much better days are ahead. They has a really good schedule with Jacksonville. Buffalo hasn't been good. Cincinnati again. Yes, Indianapolis in the championship is a very tough matchup, but the rest of them are very beatable. So I think you can also get them for pretty cheap right now as well. And the next one's going to be Jonathan Taylor. And I've said in my previous video to go out, go whatever you can for Taylor. But I do think a lot of people right now are really considering dropping him. Might even drop him this week. So if they do drop him, pick him up. But I would just try to trade for whoever you're thinking about dropping this week. See if the fantasy manager will take that. Text them, call them, whatever the case may be. Send out those offers. Just because in the off chance that, say, Jordan Wilkins gets hurt or he actually looks really good, he has a really good schedule going forward. Like a beautiful schedule. Houston twice, worst rush defense in the NFL. Has Green Bay, who hasn't looked that good against the run. Tennessee hasn't been that good. The Las Vegas Raiders haven't been that good. So I would go out, see what they want, and chances are you might be able to get him because a lot of them are thinking about dropping him. So I would go out and make some offers. Next would be David Montgomery. Now, this offense looked terrible Monday night, right? They looked awful. Only reason why I say this is because he does have a really good run schedule going forward. We got Green Bay, Detroit, Houston, Minnesota again, Jacksonville. That is money for those weeks. Money. Very easy matchups. Maybe this offense needs a bye week to figure things out, hopefully. But if you're a team that's sitting right now kind of pretty, you're definitely going to make the playoffs or looking really good. The chances are of you making the playoffs look really good. I will go out and get them just because I still have faith that this offense figures it out. They have just a really good matchups all across the board here, and I would want him on my bench because this is somebody, a bell cow, who's getting the ball a ton when he was healthy, who was getting the ball a ton, and that's just, you can't pass up those opportunities. You need those opportunities. Those are very hard to come by, especially on the waivers, so I would go out, send out offers, try to get him, especially with him on bye this week. Next would be Jakobi Meyers. Now, maybe he's on the waivers. I would 100% go out and put a waiver claim for him. And if you don't get him, I would try to go really hard to be able to get him going forward. The reason why is because the past 2 weeks, he's seen over a 40% target share. 40%. Yes, Cam Newton doesn't pass the ball that much, but that is crazy. And he's also looked really good. Last year, when he was given a couple of opportunities with Brady, he honestly did look good as well. I just think he's a good football player going forward that Cam Newton obviously likes. This is somebody who I think really has wide receiver 2 upside here going forward. So I would 100%, I don't think he's viewed as that, so I would 100% try to go out and get Jakobi Meyers aggressively. Next would be Darius Slayton. Now, this is also, he's on a bye week this week, so it's a little bit hard if you need to win this week, but if you're in a position where you're sitting pretty good, I think I would go out and try to get him and Shepard, just because the matchups coming up are very good as well. Cincinnati, Seattle, Arizona, Cleveland, Baltimore. Baltimore obviously not that good, but the rest of them are really good matchups. Really good matchups. This is a big play waiting to happen type of guy, right? He's honestly a very good receiver. I believe in Danny Dimes. It's just this offensive line is so bad. It's probably the worst offensive line in the league. So I believe in the talent. I believe in the upcoming schedule, and I think these are 2 guys that you want to target, him and Shepard. Another guy I would try to go out and get is Tyler Boyd. I think Tyler Boyd has really good matchups coming up. He didn't have that great of a week, so maybe the fantasy manager who has him is a little bit down on him. But going forward, he has some very good matchups, especially in the slot, where he lines up most of the time. Slot matchups against Washington, Giants, Miami. Miami's a good defense, but they are not good in the slot. This is a very good matchup for him. Dallas and Pittsburgh. These are phenomenal matchups, one more time, that I think he can win pretty easily, so I would 100% go out and try to get him. Next would be Tyler Lockett. This is somebody who I've seen people down on the past couple of days on Twitter. Yes, it wasn't a good game, and this hasn't been a good little stretch here after the 45-point game. But honestly, it gets better with Arizona, Philadelphia, Giants, Jets, Washington. Those are all really good slot receiver matchups. So I think going forward, he is going to produce. I don't know if he outproduces Metcalf, but he's going to produce some big numbers here. So I would 100% go out and try to get him if you're able to. Obviously, you got to see what you can get him for, but I think some fantasy managers are a little bit down on him. The next one is going to be Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews has had 3 brutal matchups in a row. These are 3 of the top 4 defenses against tight ends that he's faced in a row now. Pittsburgh is number 4, Indianapolis is number 1, New England's number 2. So terrible matchups. For the remaining of the season, he gets some really good matchups. Yes, he faces Pittsburgh again, but gets Dallas, Cleveland, Jacksonville, Giants. Giants aren't that bad, but the rest of them are not very good. Pittsburgh obviously is very good, but the rest of them aren't good. I think he rebounds in a big way, so I would try to go out and get him, especially if you need some help at the tight end position. Now let's go ahead and get into the sells here. This is the mindset that you got to have when you're trying to trade, and anytime in fantasy. That doesn't even have to be trading, just the mindset that you got to have. Everybody on your team is for sale. You should be asking offers, sending offers that are obviously in your favor. Always feel like it's in your favor. But always try to sell everybody if it's for the right price. If somebody came around and asked for Dalvin Cook and they gave you Derrick Henry and DK Metcalf, you better take that. This is why when anybody asks you, hey, you want to do a trade? Always say yes. Always hear their offers. Never say no right off the bat because they might offer you something crazy and you gotta accept it, right? So the first one I'm going to say for myself is DeShaun Watson. It's not that I don't believe in his talent because I do, but this is a really tough slate of games here. He has New England, then gets Detroit, good matchup. Then Indianapolis, Chicago, Indianapolis. That is a brutal matchup. These are four of the top five defenses in the NFL against the pass. Well, I guess three because he plays Indianapolis twice. But four of the games are against top five defenses against the quarterback in the NFL. So this is a brutal matchup. So I would try to sell if you're able to. Try to go out and get Lamar because I think he's going to have a better second half of the season here than Deshaun Watson. Next person is going to be Will Fuller. He's in the same boat. He just has a brutal stretch of games here. I don't think that these two are going to produce like they have been all season. It's going to be a very rough patch, and I think you need to get ahead of the game and try to sell. And the next one here is going to be Josh Allen. It's not that I don't like Josh Allen. It's just he has a pretty tough slate of games coming up as well. This past game, he had a receiving touchdown, right? It's not going to happen again. Has a tough slate of games, is on bye this week, so I think this is a perfect opportunity. If you're in a position where you need to win right now, I would 100% go out, see who the teams that are in first place, probably going to make the playoffs, and see if they will give you something for Josh Allen in return. Just because this is a tough slate of games coming up. We got San Francisco, Pittsburgh. He has to go to Denver. Denver hasn't been that good, but playing in Denver is always difficult, and plays New England again. So I just think he doesn't have very good matchups. And the next one here goes hand in hand with Josh Allen. That's going to be Stefon Diggs. I believe 100% of the talent. He's seeing a ridiculous amount of targets as well. But in the games that they didn't play that well, it was against tougher teams. And coming up, it's just tougher teams again. I just think this is a tough playoff schedule here that I don't want any part of. And I would definitely try to go out and try to sell him for whatever you can right now, especially if you're a team that needs to win now with him on bye. I think this is a really good opportunity. The next one's going to be Dalvin Cook. And it's not, you don't go sell Dalvin Cook for peanuts, right? I mean, he had 30 touches in this game, well, probably even more because he had receptions, but 30 carries. But he has a very brutal matchup here of games in the playoff schedule here. We have Tampa Bay, Chicago, New Orleans, all top defenses, run defenses in the NFL right now. I would try to sell for like a Hunt or a Chubb and something else because honestly, I think you could probably get that. So I would 100% go out and try to sell right now because he's going to have a couple good games here coming up. But the playoff, if you're a team that's going to definitely be in the playoffs, I would consider it and try to get some really good pieces that have really good matchups in the playoffs. And the next one's going to be Antonio Gibson. It's not that I hate Antonio Gibson. I love Antonio Gibson. I'm big on the free Antonio Gibson movement. But I will say this. He got outsnapped by J.D. McKissic 29 snaps. So that is not good going forward. I will also say this, a little disclaimer. I'm going to have a video coming out that's going to be outlook for next year's fantasy, some guys that you should definitely be drafting. And I think going forward, like next year, he's going to be like the bell cow. I don't expect them to really keep McKissic. I think going forward, he's going to be the bell cow, but not this year. I think this year they're kind of getting him acclimated, are going to preserve him long term rather than just load him up on touches. But I think he had a really good game. This is a really good opportunity to go and sell right now. He was outsnapped by J.D. McKissic by 29 snaps. That's just not good going forward. Has some tough games upcoming. Yes, gets Dallas, Cincinnati, but after that, it gets really tough. So I would 100% go out and try to sell as high as I can. And the next one's going to be CMC. Now, yes, Christian McCaffrey is a stud, but if you're a team, and I keep saying this, but if you're a team that needs to win now, he's not going to be able to give you that. Yes, you can hope that you get into the playoffs, but I'd much rather get into the playoffs, have a chance, than have him sitting there and not make the playoffs when I could have made a change. I honestly don't think he plays until after the bye. They have a week 13 bye. So you better hope you make the playoffs because you're not going to have him. I think he's already been officially ruled out for this week. And then next week it just makes more sense if they don't play him and bring him back after the bye. And that's if he comes back. What if they're in an opportunity where they're not going to have a chance to make the playoffs? Why even bring him back this season? So 100% I would try to go out and sell him right now to a team that's really good standings and he could be their lottery ticket. And I think that they would give up a decent amount for you to give them, give him to them. So let's go into the next one that's going to kind of be the same boat. I don't think we see Austin Ekeler until at least December, and this is kind of what they have project right now. This New England game. That's best case scenario. Best case scenario, we don't see him until New England. I know that there's a video going around of him running, and if you actually watch, he's not fully sprinting. Like, yes, he's running, but he doesn't look like anywhere near full speed. So if I were you and you're also in this situation where you need to win right now, 100% go out, give him to a fantasy manager that is in good standings, and try to get something in return that's going to help you win right now. So with that being said, if you have any questions, buy and sell questions, ask it in the comments below. We'll help you with anything you need. Make sure you follow us in the social medias that are linked below. We'll answer any questions that you have. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this. We truly appreciate it, and have a great day.